In the busy city center, there was a hospital called St. Michael's. Here life and death were always close by in the narrow hallways and clean rooms. I'm Dr. Mary Harper. My life at the hospital was very different from my life at home with my husband John. Our marriage used to be happy, filled with laughter and dreams. But things had slowly changed, and I was dealing with a reality I never expected. I was a well-respected surgeon at St. Michael's. My days and nights were filled with the constant demands of my job. The hospital was a safe haven for me. Here I could focus on saving lives and forget about the growing problems with John. Even for a short time, my love story began within the hospital walls. We met by chance, talking over patient charts, and during coffee breaks our love felt strong, like it could overcome any difficulty. But lately John seemed far away. He wasn't as warm and friendly anymore. He worked late at the office a lot and made secret phone calls, thinking Mary wouldn't notice. Then came a message that broke my heart. It was a picture from someone I didn't know showing JN with another woman. It was a terrible betrayal, much worse than any injury she'd ever seen in the operating room. In the days that followed, I worked even harder than before, if that was even possible. The hospital hallways filled with the sounds of people fighting to survive became my hiding place. I did my job, automatically talking to colleagues and patients in a professional way that hid her inner turmoil at home. Conversations with JN were tense, with long silences and questions left unsaid. I wanted to yell at him and demand answers, but fear held my back. I feared the truth, what it meant for our marriage and the life they built together. Even though the hospital was familiar, it now felt like a mirror reflecting the changes in my life. Just like I dealt with different medical problems, I knew I would eventually have to face the truth about my marriage. It was scary not knowing what would happen, but I understood that healing, any kind of healing, meant facing the pain hidden. So, with each step through the busy hospital, I carried not just the hopes of my patients, but also the weight of my own heartbreak. It was a delicate balance I managed day by day, moment by moment, as I prepared to face the truth about John's betrayal. I found a strength I didn't know I had. This strength came not just from being a surgeon, but from my journey as a woman, dealing with the complexities of love, loss, and the possibility of a new beginning. The evening I discovered John's betrayal, I was late. The hospital demanding every ounce of my attention. By the time I left, the night had wrapped the city in its cool, indifferent embrace. I remember thinking I'd grab something to eat on the way home, a silent concession to the empty apartment that awaited me. As I navigated the evening traffic, my phone buzzed. I glanced at it, expecting another message from John about working late or another last-minute business dinner, but it wasn't from him. An unknown number. Curiosity overcame caution, and I opened the message at the next red light. The photo loaded slowly, pixel by pixel, a digital taunt, and there it was, John. Unmistakably him, with a woman I didn't recognize. They were close to close, her hand on his chest, laughter frozen on their faces. The message beneath the photo was simple, just 2 words, but they hit me as hard as a physical blow. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen, the light turning green unnoticed. The cars behind me honked, jolting me back to reality. I drove home in a daze, the image burning behind my eyes, every detail seared into memory. The apartment was dark when I arrived, silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sounds of the city. I sat at the kitchen table, the phone lying there like an accusation. My mind raced questions, scenarios, justifications, but the photo, that damning evidence, offered no escape from the truth. I remember the day clearly. It was a typical evening. I was tidying up after dinner, waiting for John to come home. He was late again, something I had grown accustomed to given his demanding job. But that night, as I picked up his suit from the floor to hang it. A piece of paper fell out. Curious, I picked it up, unfolding it to find a hotel receipt, dated 2 days back for a room booked under John's name. My heart sank. It wasn't just the receipt, it was the realization that all the late nights, the missed dinners weren't sacrifices for his career but for someone else. A sickening detail jumped out at me. A handwritten note he scrolled on the back, and lipstick. Room 4002, don't be late, darling. The blue drained from my face. This wasn't just a business meeting, a late client dinner. This was a deliberate Ren's via secret, whispered promise. The confrontation that followed was inevitable. The clock on the microwave blinked at 1 Sakare. John still wasn't home. The silence in our apartment screamed louder than any fight. The hotel receipt in my hand felt like ice. John's name, a cruel accusation, a burning jealousy, hot and sharp, twisted in my gut. Images of John laughing with some other woman filled my head. Every imagined touch, every joke felt like a betrayal. Was this why he was working late? Why did a strange perfume linger on him? Cold fury replaced the desperate hope clinging to me. I snatched my keys, my movements fueled by hurt and anger. The car roared to life, a pale echo of the storm inside me. Street lights blurred as I raced through the deserted city, envy twisting every woman walking hand in hand with a man into a potential rival. The fancy hotel loomed ahead, a symbol of my growing dread. My hands trembled on the wheel as I parked each step towards the entrance, a battle against shaky legs. The heavy door swooshed open, revealing a scene that stole my breath. There, bathed in warm light, stood Jay, and his arm was around a beautiful woman. Their laughter, a symphony that scraped against my raw heart. Jealousy, a ravenous beast, roared to life, consuming every rational thought. This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a betrayal fueled by a desire I couldn't compete with. The fight was inevitable, but my weapon wouldn't be logic, it would be the burning fury of a love choked by jelly. Tears streamed down my face as I delivered a stinging slap to the woman's cheek, ignoring John's shouts echoing through the hotel lobby. I bolted towards my car, consumed by hurt and anger. I slammed my foot on the accelerator, desperate to escape and return home. The dream of our happy life together shattered. I aimed to pack my bags and leave him immediately, but fate had a cruel twist in store for me. Suddenly, disaster struck. The brakes failed entirely, and my car careened out of control, crashing into the roadside fence. Silence descended, a stark contrast to the chaos of moments before. As the quiet settled, the sounds of a distant ambulance siren pierced the night, bathed in the soft glow of the nightlights. A wave of memories washed over me, happy moments culminating in the image of John proposing his vows echoing in my head. My eyelids fluttered shut, tears still clinging to my lashes. Was this the end? Update: 6 months have passed since I slipped into a deep sleep. When I finally woke up, I wasn't in my familiar surroundings. I was in a strange place, and next to me was Jenny, my close freeing from high school. We'd been friends for over 10 years. Relief washed over Jenny's face as I regained consciousness, but there was also a hint of something unspoken in her eyes. Jenny excused herself to answer a phone call. When she returned a few minutes later, she took a deep breath and began to explain what happened after my accident. John, my cheating husband, had been following me in his car that night with the woman from the hotel still by his side. They were talking and laughing as if nothing was wrong. Then my car crashed. John saw it happen, but he did nothing. He just watched from a distance and called an ambulance, a final cold act of charity. Before leaving the scene, he drove away, seemingly free from any responsibility. It was hard to believe the police showed my current guardian, Jenny, the footage from my car's dash cam. The story gets worse. While I lay unconscious in the hospital, John and his lover continued their extravagant vacation. They didn't care about my well-being to fuel their Lavish lifestyle. John even stole all my savings and used it to buy a luxury apartment for them to live in together. But the most satisfying twist was yet to come as the stunned guests erupted in a cacophony of whispers and gasps. I walked away, head held high. John, his facade crumbling, clung desperately to Lily. Perhaps there was a flicker of genuine love in his eyes, but it was overshadowed by the betrayal that burned in my gut. I had foolishly expected an apology, a shred of remorse, but there was only a deafening silence. Later that night, John materialized at my doorstep, his demeanor a stark contrast to the bluster he displayed earlier. He was a desperate man now, threatening me to stay away from his beloved while our divorce was still being finalized. The audacity of it all. The man who betrayed me in the worst way possible now dared to try and control me. The depth of his betrayal was a gaping wound, a constant reminder of the love I'd so blindly offered. But I was done being a victim. I finalized the divorce, ensuring I received every penny I deserved. JN and Lily, tainted by their actions, were both feared from the hospital. Now with Lee pregnant, I couldn't help but wonder how John would manage to support his growing family. My current mission, watching John's carefully constructed life crumble around him. A discreetly hired investigator kept tabs on his movements, and through carefully placed whispers I ensured no pharmacy or hospital would even consider his application. They had sown the seeds of their destruction, and now they were reaping the bitter harvest. Days turned in 2 weeks, each one a slow burn for John. Lily's belly grew bigger, a constant reminder of the mess he created. He lost his good job and was stuck with any odd work he could find. These jobs left him sore and tired, but they barely paid the bills. With a baby on the way, it wasn't enough. Fueled by anger, I came up with a plan. I hired a big guy with a booming voice to pretend to be a boss who needed a gardener. When John showed up for the interview, hope lit up his face. He looked rougher than before, but finding work was a big relief. He agreed to everything without realizing I was the one pulling the strings. In a way, I felt good about it. I pictured John sweating under the sun, regretting everything with every ache and pain, but things didn't go as planned. John did every job, no matter how hard, without complaining. He worked like a man, fighting for something precious, his family, his unborn child's future. Lily's due was coming up, and JN, ever the loving husband, wanted to get her something nice, but he had no money. Shamefaced, he went to the boss, me in disguise. John's jaw hit the floor when he saw me. The fake boss greeted him loudly, trying too hard to be cheerful. He called me the hostess to keep up the act. John's voice was barely a whisper as he asked for a own. My fake boss, acting his part well, shook his head and said, pretending not to know me, she's new, can't give out loans yet. John slowly understood everything. He ignored the dirt on his clothes and the tiredness in his face and turned to me. The woman he'd hurt so much, his voice shaky with worrying, begged for my help. He wasn't asking for himself anymore, but for Lily, the one who stuck by him through everything. The first watched him fall apart, a mix of feelings churned inside me: anger, satisfaction, and something else I couldn't place, maybe even a little pity. John's unexpected devotion to his family threw my whole revenge plan out of whack as he knelt before me, his pride broken, begging me to save his wife. I had a big decision to make. Lily's pregnancy brought sunshine into their home, their son a healthy little guy completed their happiness. JN, a brand new dad, couldn't get enough of the baby. Lily, glowing with new motherhood, seemed content. They were a picture-perfect family, at least on the outside. But after 6 months, things shifted. The money problems JN had been trying to hide started to wear on Lily. The joy in her eyes faded, replaced by worrying lines. John worked any job he could find, exhausted but determined to provide Lily meanwhile found someone else at the station, a doctor charming and seemingly understanding. What started his friendly chats turned into a full-blown affair. The promises she made to John to face anything together vanished. You, the narrator, somehow discovered this betrayal furious. You got proof pictures and videos and sent them to Jay, and John was taking care of their son when the package arrived. Seeing the evidence ripped the rug out from under him, the baby's cries went unanswered as John's world crumbled. He confronted Lily, his voice thick with hurt and confusion. Lily confessed everything, but John's reaction surprised everyone. Maybe it was the sight of their innocent child or the shock of it all, but he forgave her. Perhaps he desperately clung to the family he'd built, but fate had other plans. Racked with guilt, or maybe wanting a fresh start, Lily left that night. All she left was a sorry letter. John, devastated and alone, faced a harsh reality. He was a single dad drowning in debt, solely responsible for raising their child. Then tragedy struck. Their son fell ill with a high fever and didn't make. Grief and despair swallowed John. He couldn't afford the funeral, the debt too. You, a constant reminder of his mistakes, felt like a vice tightening around him. With each blow he broke a little more, he became a ghost of his former self, wandering the streets a broken man, searching for a family he'd lost. This is where John's story ends, a man who paid dearly for his past and a victim of Lily selfishness. The question remains, will John find some peace, or will his loss consume him forever? Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.